for the fofo. This for the fofo. For the city and the back roads, got a whole county full of them ghosts. All from the fofo. Hey, it's just for Beulah County. Yeah, right on your head like a bounty. Said I'm from Beulah, they know I'm from Beulah, so let me just go talk about my surroundings. Shout out them Eagles that's out in Geneva, them Lakers, oh yeah, that's Palmetto and Valley. We from the football chasing these goals. If you in the way, you get taken out proudly. And Jefferson soaring with Falcon. Said that you working, you ain't really working. You see that we working, our hands got a callus. Putting in reps till we moving some mountains. Edgewell got warriors, they won't allow it. Me, I bleed green and gold, they know defeating those dragons who run the whole city. You wildin', and they really bout it. And next we gon' go to Grand Valley. Work like a horse and don't show no remorse. So opponents keep coming, we stack them and pile them. Yeah, and kinda got flooded with Spartans. As soon as they pull up on game day, we park them. Cause we number one in that spot, ain't a bargain. Man, shout out St. John, they be ballin' like Harden. This for the fofo. This for the fofo. This for the fofo.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a 440 Sports Show special presentation. It's a tournament town hall right here on your home for high school sports, ysnlive.com. Tonight, I have a big panel of all of the same voices you've heard all year long on these basketball calls. I'm very, very excited to get these guys in here. Starting off with one half of the Zoo crew, we've got George Dubik joining us tonight. We've got the Flying Eagle himself, Scott Demos, joining the party. We've got the biggest and best voice of the Warriors. It's Larry Jennings on the call tonight. And joining the show for the first time, all the way from Spartan Country, it is two students who have been calling games this year, Aaron Johnson, Hamilton Spiro, joining us on the show tonight. First and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, welcome, y'all.
Hey, guys.
Awesome.
So it has been a long, but I think pretty entertaining basketball season this year. We've gotten a lot of county basketball games under our belt, a lot of non-conference games under our belt, and we're heading into the tournament. Different teams are at a different spot as we head into this tournament. A couple of them are going to be hosting games. Some of them are going to be heading on the road. And soon to join us will be James Westover, who is the voice of the Grand Valley Mustangs. But we're going to go around the panel here and just talk to the guys about some of the stuff that they've seen so far, both on the boys' side and the girls' side. And we're going to start off with half of the Zoo crew, George Dubik. George, what's going on in Lakerland?
Oh man, it's been a roller coaster ride this whole season. So obviously, beginning of the season, we kind of didn't have the start we wanted. We lost a couple key components. So, what you thought you're going in with, you don't have. So it was a constant fluctuation of lineups and the chemistry. I mean, there was just a lot of moving pieces and parts, seemingly like all season. Good thing for the boys squad, at least, they've started picking it up, and it just seems like now they're starting to flow together, which is helpful coming this part of the season, tournament time, because that's when you want to gel. They're 11-10 right now, 9-6 in the NAC. Probably lost some games they shouldn't have lost. And I think those are just learning curves. You got two seniors on the squad, Chase Geisinger, Trent Harvey. And aside from that, there's a lot of underclassmen. So there's a lot of development, a lot of learning, but they're making their moves. This is going to be a dangerous team, I think.
But yeah, and we'll go into some of the records and stuff like that right before we go to tournament time. Hold on, let me see, because we got some technical difficulties behind the scenes. Can you guys hear me now or no?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you. I've got nothing. Cannot hear it.
But you can hear everybody else? Obviously, they can't answer me, right?
Can you hear everyone else? Did you hear everyone else? No.
They may have muted themselves.
They could hear George, but that's the weird thing.
We can hear everybody but Sam. I don't know if you guys can hear us, but we
can hear
everybody
We
but
can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I mean, a little technical difficulty there. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna talk to them through you guys. That's how we're gonna treat this because I am not a tech support guy. George, or we went with George. Scott, I guess before we get too much into the team, how has the basketball season gone so far?
Honestly, fantastic for the Eagles. I mean, they're really rolling. They've gelled together. They went 9-1 in the conference, and even that one loss was close. They beat a good Berkshire team the other night. They're clicking at the right times. A lot of senior leadership, so they're looking really good heading into this run.
And you talk about Geneva, both boys and girls, heading into this tournament feel pretty strong. Larry, how about over at Edgewood? How has the season gone? How do you feel going into the tournament?
Well, okay, so the boys suffered a couple setbacks with injuries, with eligibility issues, those kind of things. But you've had different people stepping up at different times on the boys' team. I am really impressed. One with Paul Seiler. He's not a big scoring machine, but he is a force down low, getting rebounds, blocking shots, and just getting in the way. But even more so, Devin Christine has just in the last 3 games has just come out of nowhere. He's been the high scorer, I believe, in the last 3 games, scoring over 20 points. He's got this amazing kind of a hook bank shot that he does from the right side. I hope we're not giving anything away there, but they're right now they're 9-10. Not as good as what Coach Bowler would like them to be, but it's still they're scrappy. They're really scrappy. Besides the big 3 3-point guys like Gino Miesel, Logan Mezak, and JJ Dufour even was hitting some, but they do work well as a team. So and we'll talk more about what's going on with them this week, next week. The girls, same kind of thing. They've got 3 mainstays there on the team. Carly Cray, Annie Mae Johnston, and Faith Fensel. There's a couple others that have been stepping up, but those 3 have been the main scorers and playmakers on the team. Looking good. They do well. Looking forward to when they do get into these playoffs here. They got a decent record. They were 14-7. Again, looking forward to what they can bring here in the postseason.
All right, and now we'll move on to the Conneaut guys, who I think can hear me now.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, all right. So we've got Aaron Johnson and Hamilton Spiro, who, first of all, a round of applause for these guys as a new media program setting up over at Conneaut, and these guys were stepping up with the help of Aaron Johnson and Hamilton. A little quick round of applause for these guys. And, I wanted to ask you, because we haven't had a chance necessarily to interview you guys about this on the air, but, what were some of the reasons why you guys stepped in and were so excited to cover Spartan basketball this year?
For me, just to start it is, I don't know, I've always, seen the broadcasters and be like, man, that'd be pretty cool to go watch that or to do that and just to be the guy to narrate the game. I know, I feel like that's always been an interest of mine, and I do the audio video at my church. So it's very similar to that, and I enjoy doing that. So it's like that.
How about you, Aaron?
I've always loved sports, and that's always been a big part of my life. But really, just since my freshman year, I think, is when I realized that I actually wanted to be a broadcaster for a bit, the beginning of high school. But then I ended up changing my mind professionally. But when I saw the opportunity to do it while I was in high school, I thought it sounded great. So, but yeah, I had a great time.
Yeah, and that Conneaut community, which is very tight knit, and they're head over heels for Spartans. What's it feel like to be the guys, behind the microphone and essentially the voice of the Spartans for the Spartans?
Well, going back to the tight knit thing, you gotta watch what you say, obviously. I'm like, for me, I'm proud to represent Conneaut, to be the voice for the Spartans, to give our insight.
So, this year it's kind of the tale of two different seasons for the teams. Boys and girls have some pretty different records, but what are some of the high points that you guys have gotten a chance to witness, call, and highlight?
Personally, boys wise, Jaden Hook came from Geneva. This was his first year here. And I also came from Geneva, so I've known Jaden Hook for a long time. And just seeing him come in here his first year, leading scorer on the team, able to put up some points, I mean, that was really cool to see, especially his first year. And we have some younger players, too, that I thought I should give a shout-out to. Jacob Thompson, as a sophomore, had some pretty strong, plays and stuff like that. And Brock Richards, as a freshman, got quite a bit of playing time towards the end of the season. But I think younger kids like that are going to start making a difference for these future Spartan teams, and they definitely did this year as well.
Yeah, and then looking over at the girls' side, who they've had a really good season so far. They're also a young team, and they're doing real well. I think they have, one senior who's been leading the team, Alexis Kaiser. She's been leading scorer for the girls. She's really good. But then stepping up right next to her was Alexis Warner. She was one of the games that we covered, she had the most points on the team. She's definitely a upcoming star on the Lady Spartans basketball team, but we're looking forward to what they can do here in the postseason.
Yeah, it's definitely been a cool turnaround. What you're seeing out there in Conneaut, struggled a little bit last year, but coming into this year, there's some things that are really going in the right direction. And I think everybody on the panel has played against Conneaut, I believe, at least once this year. It's cool to see some of the growth out there, and that's my favorite thing about Ashtabula County sports in general, and why I go on these long rants on Facebook about how we need a county league, because there's something about that county ball no matter what you're playing with. But from talking about Conneaut, who they're getting ready for a tournament after a regular season that didn't necessarily go as planned. We talk next to a guy from a team that really has had it go the way they wanted to, and that's James West over there at Grand Valley. Before we get into the scheduled game, James, who are some of the guys and girls that are stepping out or sticking out to you, and what are some of the highlights from the season?
As I say, things are grand in the Valley right now for the boys and the girls. The boys right now, they're 17-4, 13-2 within the NAC conference. It's been a great season, to say the least. Every time I go on air, I say it every single time. They're a force to be reckoned with here in Northeast Ohio. Obviously, you got Carter Turk, a.k.a. Turk Sandy. He's the dude. Everybody knows he's the dude out there. Then you got kind of his Robin and Sully Schultz. They kind of had leaned into this dynamic duo, identity. They're both all Ohio players from last year coming back to this season. Schultz is sophomore, Turk junior. Earlier in the season, too, we had a man by the name of Evan Skirdick. He was a mentor transfer. He hit that 11-game ball, so he hasn't, played since, I think, Perry. But Turk and Schultz have stepped up. I believe both of them are probably averaging around 20 since Skirdick hasn't played. So, they got, a bunch of young guys, too. They have two seniors, and Anthony Easton and Peyton Pulizka. They work well off of Turk and Schultz. They're looking great here coming into the tournament. And the ladies, they're 19-3. They went 14-1 in the conference. They just won their, half of the conference, the NAC Stars. It's weird. They split it in two this year. But then you got Carter Turk's sister, Chloe Turk. She's a beast on the boards. She has that 3-point shot going too. That's the one thing I noticed with both of them this year. They both have their 3-point shot going. Next year, you got a freshman in Riley Rowland who has came up to the varsity level, got thrown into the fire. But as they say, pressure creates diamonds, and Riley Rowland has been one of those. Then you got her sister, Bree. She can hit a three at any time of the game. Have a bench filled with, great wings, and just, both sides are coming into this postseason looking, to to compete for district titles this year. That's been the goal on both sides. Both of them, scheduled harder opponents this year. And I'm really, really looking forward to what they can, come out here and say in their brackets.
Yeah, it's been I think it's been kind of an up and down season for most teams, but Grand Valley's really been the most steady out here, and it's really no surprise. You look at what the Mustangs did last year, and they did lose a couple seniors, but most of their primetime scorers came back this year. So I think when you go into a season like this, where people are expecting you to be that good, I think you're getting everybody's best shot. And I think that's probably the most impressive thing, in my opinion, for Grand Valley this year is, even though they're getting everybody's best shot, those guys and those girls, they really have never taken a game off, a week off. You're getting their best shot every night. And that's kind of hard to do when you've got, honest to God, the longest season ever is basketball. Like it starts at the end of the fourth quarter for football, and we carry it for 4 or 5 months where it's nonstop basketball. But Grand Valley's got some things going in the right direction. I've gotten a chance, obviously, covering St. John from what, that's the school I've been covering the most, and it's been the tale of two teams there as well. You've got a young girls team with a couple seniors who are on the staff leading the way, but really they're making way for the freshmen who had to come in and play a big part. And anybody who's played any sport, they know that freshman year, I think the biggest jump that anybody will ever make athletically is really that 8th grade to freshman year, because you go from, the maximum age difference is 2-3 years, maybe 3 years if you're in Texas, because they hold them back. But you get into high school, and in some cases it's a 14-year-old playing against a 19-year-old, and it's really impressive. The boys playing that OHSA transfer rule, getting some guys for 11 games and having to play the rest of the season. I think that's another tough pill to swallow, but it's been really impressive over there at St. John. They've gotten some guys, and Chase Newsom, I think everybody knew about him, right? There was no secret there. But seeing guys come in like Augie Puglisi immediately making a difference for them. Some of the guys coming off the bench like a Brady Cole making a difference for them on the boys' side. And on the girls' side, of course, you're talking Milani Johnson, you're talking Riley Ann Hatfield, who have taken on a large portion of the scoring role there. And I mean, they've been in some classics this year. Their games against Conneaut were really, really good and really fun to watch this year. So, St. John, we'll talk a little bit when we go into the scheduled game with them. The other teams in the county this year being Jefferson and Lakeside. Lakeside on the girls' side, getting their first win of the year against St. John this year. It's definitely a developing program over there. But the boys, I think, in my opinion, and I'm going to go kind of around the panel on this, I think they were a quiet surprise this year. George, how about you?
As far as Lakeside?
Yeah, the boys basketball program.
They the talent's there. Yeah, they were definitely a nice surprise. I think that they went through their share of ups and downs, like pretty much anybody did this season. And but the firepower that's there, and when we played them, that was a tall team. That was a very they played long, so you're not getting into the paint on Terry Brown. Padilla is going to do his thing. All those guys down in the blocks are going to get their points. I mean, but they spread it out across the entirety of that entire that starting five. It's a talented team. If they can keep it together and keep their emotions in check, they're gonna do pretty well. I think that they can actually make a couple game run. So,
how about you, Scott?
Yeah, I'll be honest. They're a pretty scary team. I think if they're clicking on all cylinders, it's somebody to watch out for. I mean, Osborne. I mean, he controls everything. Everything runs through him, and he's a very good game manager. Bradley, when he's on fire, when he's hitting his shots, the hustle plays from Diaz and the Flores kid, they're a team that you want to watch. I'm pretty impressed with Lakeside so far this year.
Yeah. James?
I mean, yeah, I think like you said, they were pretty surprising. I think they're kind of like a dark horse in their bracket. I mean, earlier in the year when I saw them, they get Grand Valley a good scare there for a couple of quarters, and then Grand Valley was able to just kind of come out in the fourth and kind of, take over that game. But Jerez Osborne, fantastic basketball player. I mean, the kid can straight hoop. You got Draquan Bradley, who, I mean, he can score at all three levels. He's going to be a force in the paint. And then obviously you had Terry Brown. I believe in a game he had 9 blocks against Geneva, and very impressive. I mean, I think they had an 0-4 start, I believe. So, I mean, you look at their record, it might not make sense in your head, but then you look at their schedule and you're like, this team can, really cause some damage. And the thing is, they're young.
Yeah.
Very young. They're returning Osborne. Bradley's coming back. A couple of starters. I think next year Lakeside's going to kind of take this. It could really take the county by storm. This was kind of like a building block here for them.
How about you guys over in Conneaut? In the couple games you guys have had against Lakeside, what are some of the things that stuck out?
I was just gonna say, I definitely agree with James. It's kind of hard when you do kind of start rough like that with like an start, but they definitely have different skill players who are good at, a lot of different things. And when you have something like that, it's really hard to shut down, especially when they feed off the energy of each other. I mean, that's something that's hard to stop, is when they're good at different things and they're good at coming together as a team.
And Larry?
Okay. You and I had talked about Lakeside earlier in the season, and you really thought that they'd be challenging for the Lake Division title there. And they looked impressive. But of course, we all know the disadvantage that they've had of not having that home crowd for them. Although they did seem to travel well, their fans traveled well. But I just think that from when Edgewood played them, our guys, there's just something about playing Lakeside that takes our guys to another level, and we did well against them. But yeah, obviously they got a lot of talent on that team.
Yeah, and you brought up a good point there, and that's why I'm gonna start bringing up the schedules, and we're gonna walk through schedules. Obviously, we're gonna talk Lakeside. We're gonna talk Jefferson first because we don't have representatives for them on the show tonight, so we're gonna get everybody's kind of opinions on there. But you brought up a good point there, Larry. Lakeside wasn't just they were knocking on the door of that CVC Lake title. At one point, just one loss behind Geneva. Behind guys like Jerez Osborne. And I think when you lose a guy like Terry Brown, who, I don't know if it was a school record, but it had to be close against Geneva with the blocks. They have to bounce back, but they're getting ready to go on the road against a very good Brush team. That's one of the troubles you have with playing in Division III is you're going to get some really, really big schools with a lot of talent, and Brush obviously 13-7. And that's who Lakeside's going to be going up against. I'm really interested to see how this matchup goes for Lakeside. Lakeside, George talked about, they're long. You've got a guy in Jerez Osborne who's playing guard for them that stands at 6'2", 6'3". You've got I think my biggest the breakout on that team this year, it's got to be Draquan Bradley. He was a guy not many people knew his name until this year, and then he goes out there and becomes a certified shooter for them, and has really made a difference. I apologize ahead of time. I, for the life of me, cannot find Lakeside's girls tournament game. While you guys were talking, I was searching all through there, so we're not going to necessarily talk about their tournament game. But Lakeside's girls program with a new coach, trying to find their way and finding. You'd be surprised how much a win can do for a program. And for some of the teams in this area that started off 1-13, stuff like that. It's those wins that kind of bring you back into the game, and Lakeside finds that heading into tournament time. There is no better time to get hot than right before. If you're going to lose games, lose them in the beginning, because that's when you're trying to kind of tighten the bolts and get everything together. When you're hot going into tournament time, that's when those Cinderella stories really start. But moving on from Lakeside, I want to move over to the Jefferson Falcons, which, they're coming off of a season last year with, Ashtabula County's all-time scoring leader in Anthony Cavetta, who could just flat out shoot the ball. Losing guys like Dylan Beebe, losing guys like Luis Padilla. This was a year where Jefferson really had to kind of retool. And the guy that they were retooling around, Joel Navarro. And I think he did a great job of stepping into that role. If you've been following county basketball over the last couple of years, Joel Navarro has always been a guy on the team. He's been their biggest defender. You know what I mean? He could score when they needed him to, but let's be honest, when you've got a guy like Cavetta, you don't have to score too much. He's gonna take on the lion's share. But I think Joel Navarro really stepped into that role this year and did a good job for them. Jefferson, I'll bring their record up right now. Right now with a record of 8-12, and their tournament game. Being against Edgewood, and we get a preview of that. I forgot about that story. We get a preview of that heading into because they play Edgewood on Friday, and then 7 days later they play them right again. But Jefferson's boys program has been one I think to watch. You know what I mean? It's interesting to see them retool. But what I've seen with this team is grit that they didn't necessarily have last year. This was a team that they had to win the game. Have to win games with the loose basketballs and making their free throws and stuff like that. That's just my perspective. We'll bounce around the panel and get your guys' perspective on that. We'll go reverse order on this one. Larry, what are some of the things you've seen from Jefferson boys basketball?
Well, I was actually going to defer to James. He called that game, and I haven't seen him play because, like you said, this coming Friday, they play a regular season game with them. I did manage to watch the game that James called. And yeah, when they come back a week later, they play them in the first round of the playoffs. Probably the only occurrence anywhere in the state of Ohio where that's going to happen. So again, I cannot comment, but James, what did you see in that game?
I think out of all of us, I think I've called the most Jefferson games. I mean, like Sammy said, coming this season, you lose Cavetta, who, let's be real here, he was kind of, people consider him really the Michael Jordan of this area. Come on now. But, you look at a guy like Navarro, everybody was kind of pointing at him. Oh, he's going to be the guy to step up. And he's done that fairly well. He's had games where he's had 30. He had 28 against Grand Valley last Tuesday. Him and Sully Schultz went toe-to-toe. It was quite a battle. But everybody was kind of questioning who's going to step up around him. George Missouri has done a fantastic job. He is a lethal shooter, to say the least. He could get hot. He had 28 against the Lakeview, I believe, 2 Saturdays ago. I mean, you got a guy in Preston Hitchcock, too. He's a steady point guard. You got younger guys like Joey Sands coming off the bench. He's a big 6'3" center. He's going to get boards and get inside. He, has a couple of post moves he can whip out here or there. Me and George saw some of those against Liberty, I believe, last Tuesday. They got a young JV. I mean, definitely is a gap year, but even a gap year for them, they're still about to win almost 10 games, and they're going to head into a tournament game against Edgewood, which I believe in this area, that's probably going to be the best game in Ashtabula County is that Jefferson-Edgewood game, tournament-wise.
And moving over to
teams, like team versus team.
Moving over to the Conneaut guys, those Jefferson Conneaut games were really, really close this year. I mean, Conneaut's had some games where they struggled. They certainly didn't against the Falcons. It was some of their best offensive outputs. What were some of the things that showed up to you?
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said there. Aaron and I were at both games, and then like when we went to Jefferson, we were winning at halftime. We were up by, I think, 2 points. Yeah. But it really came down to the little mistakes, and Jefferson really limited those there towards the end. They knew that they had to get their team together, and they were limiting their mistakes. It was really great to watch, and how you guys have all commented on DeZuro and Navarro just really showing up there for the team when they need them the most.
And about that game too, I mean, Navarro didn't even start too hot, like you were saying about the grit. I mean, that was a game that they really did have to play their hearts out in the last, like, really 5 minutes. They pulled out everything. I mean, I think we ended up losing that game by a good, I think, about 20 points. And I mean, it was close for most of the game, but when one person isn't necessarily doing his best, they all kind of come together and they're able to pull it together by the end. But then,
yeah, and I think it's that type of gameplay that actually benefits you in the tournament because, you know, we were talking earlier, it's a long season. It's a very long season. And by the time you get to that tournament, you know, the legs aren't what they used to be. Sometimes when you go on the road and you're playing in a very unfamiliar place, it feels like you're shooting at a golf hole. And you know, those guys that you're relying on for the big threes and stuff like that, it's not falling. But when you've got a team where sometimes when you don't have the guy that has to score every night, everybody has to go team wise. They fare better, you know, in the tournament. And obviously, you know, they've got a pretty tough pool for their tournament in that they've got to play the team they just played. But those Edgewood Jefferson games, everybody talks about Lakeside Edgewood. Those Edgewood Jefferson games are starting to kind of find their place in that county rivalry. George and Scott, whoever wants to go first, any thoughts on Jefferson?
I mean, they pushed Geneva to the limits last week. You know, at halftime they were winning. They are very, very, we've said it, scrappy. They're very gritty. Navarro, I mean, Desura can shoot the lights out for sure. So can Shetler. If they get hot at the right times, you know, I think they're a good, scrappy team, and that's going to give people a lot of trouble. So Edgewood should be on notice here. That's an upset alert for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Like everybody's been saying, Navarro, he's the guy. I mean, you got to stop him leading the point. He can create in the paint. I mean, he's a tough-bodied kid. So I mean, he's not just gonna throw some floaters up. I mean, he's gonna go there and look for contact. And I think that speaks for their entire team. I mean, you look at Joey Sands, you look at Paxton Fritchie. Fritchie is like a big tree trunk in there that has speed, and he's deceptive with how quick he is. So you got Desura that can pick up the slack if Navarro's not scoring, and vice versa. So it's a gritty team. We had, I mean, when the two of us met, that's exactly what it was. I mean, nobody had a shot that could fall, but their toughness, I think, is what ended up helping them pull ahead. And I think that their record doesn't indicate how talented of a team they are. They're probably a year out, like James said, a gap year. But I mean, in a gap year, if you can go out and you could pull off another win against an Edgewood, and then maybe even like have a shooter's chance in a round two, it's a good season. So they're tough. Definitely.
Yeah, I think another unsung hero on that Jefferson team that gets overlooked a little bit and because he doesn't fill up the stat sheets, is Preston Hitchcock. Playing that point guard role for them, coming off of a guy like Luis Padilla, who was, he essentially had the basketball like a yo-yo. He's a kid who you've seen tons of growth from Jefferson this year. So again, I'm interested to see what the tournament is going to bring for them. But I'm really interested to see what these guys do over the summer, because I think what we're finding here in Ashtabula is the kids who are putting in the time in the gym, it's showing. And those are the teams that are really making a run. And talking about Jefferson, I want to go over to this Conneaut Spartans basketball team. I've gotten to see them quite a few times this year, but nobody has seen them more than the two young guys at on the bottom here. And we bring up the record and 2-18, and listen, this may irritate, this may go over like a fart in church, but I think there were times this year where I would have looked at that record and said, yeah, I can believe it. But there are other times this year where this is a team that has brought some Ashtabula County teams to their limit. They've had some guys who have really stepped up, and then shout out to Coach Dunn, who is essentially rebuilding this program from the ground up. Looking at this year, what are some of the games, I guess, for you two guys that stick out on this boys program?
Games that stick out to me personally is going to be the Edgewood Jefferson game that was at Jefferson. that was a big game that stuck out. And then just like the Horizon Science game and the what was it, the Academy, whoever,
Urban Scholars.
Academy of Urban Scholars. Yeah, those might not have been the roughest teams to play, but you need some of that to keep the morale up. Because if you're losing every game, it's not good. But it goes into the cards that Dunn was dealt. I mean, he's building a young team. He's got his leading scorer is a transfer from Geneva last year. So it's just trying to get them together to work together. We got teams that guys have been playing together since they were in 7th grade. So it's with the hand that you were dealt.
And I mean, this might be a little bit the more like talking about Coach Dunn over there, but you know, the 3 games I've watched of Conneaut this year, you know, they've been down early in in the games I've watched. These guys are 3rd quarter demons. I don't know what kind of Space Jam stuff he feeds them at halftime, but they come out and they are ready to go. I know both games against St. John, you know, they went down big. Come out in the 3rd quarter, and you know, I know when they were at St. John, were leading at one point, and when it was at Conneaut, had brought it within I want to say 5. You know, it talks about the grit, the determination, and I think everybody looks at Jaden Hook. I think that's a really easy person to find because he's a very talented young man, and has gone out there and he can score regularly. But the unsung hero, like you said early, Jacob Thompson, ladies and gentlemen, the kid is tough. The kid is tough, and he's young, and he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. But then you got people like Yadiel Paredes Cruz coming off the bench. I mean, Aaron and I called him Mr. Fundamental. He didn't get a whole lot of playing time, but he was doing the little things that help build a team. I definitely can see him being a team leader next year. Him and Thompson. I don't know who's going to be the point guard next year, but that's definitely that Dunn's going to look for here in the future. Aaron, do you have any?
Go ahead, Aaron.
I mean, I just have to agree with what Hamilton said. That's where I was going with it.
And, you know, you guys, when we talk about the tournament pool, it's familiar. You guys got a familiar pool as you guys got to go against this Akron Buchtel team that is very talented, but you know, some people are saying this is a team that you know is not the same team as last year. You know, obviously, I think Buchtel is going to be the favorites, but you know, how does it feel having to go back to Akron this year?
What did you want to say? I was on the team last year when we played Buchtel, and that was definitely a different type of basketball. It's just a higher level that they play down there. So I think it'll be a good experience because the team's young to know how those guys play and how those guys communicate. I mean, it's a well-oiled machine, to say the least. I mean, they got 2 guys that are just staying back and the other guys are running down the court throwing up lobs to each other.
Yeah, and I'd have to say, I mean, really I feel like when they played Academy of Urban Scholars and when they played Horizon Science, the team kind of felt that, you know, maybe this was more of a winnable game than some of the other games that they've played. And I feel like just that kind of idea was able to, you know, loosen some stress, kind of make them have more fun in a game of basketball. And that's really when everybody performs best, is when they're having fun. So maybe, I mean, I think the best hope for this is just that, you know, they just remember that, you know, this is something that they're doing for fun. You know, this is basketball. So I think if they're able to do that, I mean, that's really the best bet that we have, is just everybody go out there and, you know, do what you've been doing your whole life.
How about other guys on the panel? Thoughts on the Conneaut boys?
I honestly think that they, you know, considering everything that they went through, obviously before the season, you know, it's a gritty group. I mean, they've got talent. Like the fellas were saying, like your young guys are basically who you're laying the foundation for. So this may not necessarily have been the greatest of seasons, but you know, you get a couple of W's, and yeah, maybe, you know, you go in there and you have a puncher's chance against Buchtel. You do a few things right, and it builds off of it for the next year. But you know, you got younger guys like you've got, like you said, Brock Richards. You got you know, another talented kid down there, Devin Turner. you couple him with like Jaden Hook and those other fellas, they're gonna actually have something to build with for next year. But yeah, they're a gritty group. They played us pretty tough second game of the season. So
yeah, and I'll tell you what, I think the best part of being a heavy underdog in a game where nobody's giving you a shot is you can't do anything wrong. You can't do anything wrong. Everything you do when you show up to that game is more than they're expecting you to do. And I think that's the attitude they need to carry going into this one is everything we do is more than they thought we could. And play your game. And at the end of the day, we're all shooting at the same hoop. You know what I mean? It's the same size and everybody's dribbling the same basketball. And it'll be, no matter what the final score is of that, I think they're going to find something to take from that game and push into next year. But you talk about the boys who have a pretty tough matchup coming up. But this girls team over in Conneaut is another one that has really, really stepped up their game, 9-11 on the season, and I'll bring up their schedule here. I sound like a broken record for this one, and they're going to host. They're hosting this Akron Covington team, and we may even have these two guys on the call, depending on availability. But they've got a couple girls out there. Alexis Kaiser?
Yeah. Yep.
Alexis Kaiser and Warner, who are both primetime players. Like, they get the job done, and getting to host a playoff game. What's that going to feel like for you guys getting out there?
It's definitely exciting. I mean, you look at the beginning of the season, and I mean, I think the whole season our girls team has been strong, but definitely towards the end of the season, I mean, we're on a winning streak right now. I'm not sure exactly how many games, but it feels like this team now is the strongest that they've been in a while. And definitely the performances from Kaiser and from Warner, like we were just talking about. I mean, that St. John's game, it felt like whoever was shooting the ball, it was 90% chance of going in. I mean, that was probably the most threes I've ever seen in a girls' game. It was great to watch. So I think this is the perfect time to head into a game like that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Aaron said. And then building off of that, they play as a team. Like the last game that we had, everybody, they were sharing the ball. They know who the shooters are, and everybody knows kind of their place in that team. And then building off of Kaiser and Warner, they're like, the boys and girls practices are right next to each other, and they're out there playing the boys, getting ready, getting some aggressiveness in before their practice. It's incredible to see.
Yeah, that's big, and it shows. I mean, this is a tough team. Conneaut has come out their girls program every week. It doesn't matter who's in front of them; they're playing well. And again, it's going to be interesting. You get some home cooking, and when you go into that gym, some people will complain that gym is too small. I don't know a single Spartan that will complain about it. The stage is going to be packed. It's going to be loud. You're going to have two guys who are doing an awesome job calling the action. I'm really, really excited to see how that's going to go. We'll move right along from the Conneaut Spartans. I want to talk about a team that, I'll be honest, I've had a real difficult time putting my finger on who they are this year, and that's Geneva. Geneva has gone out there, and Caden Proy has been a dog. And he gets his 1,000 points this year. And Scott's going to talk a little bit more about that moment and how much that meant. But guys like Nate Cesar, who have taken this area by storm. And you've got a guy that when he is hot, good luck beating Geneva in Antonio Rivera. Scott, talk to us a little bit more about this Geneva Eagles team who, heading into tournament time, has a record of, I had it right in front of me. That's live for you. 13-6. We'll bring it up. 13-6 and a very winnable game, obviously, and ahead of them in Beechwood. But not just 13-6, but the sole champions of the CVC Lake this year.
Absolutely. I mean, they're led by Caden Proy, who, like you said, 1,000 points in any career is a milestone, and just kudos and congratulations to the type of player, type of teammate that he is, the commitment it takes to get there. Just an unbelievable goal and an unbelievable accomplishment for really just an outstanding young man. And then, like you said, he is flanked by some absolute shooters. Nate Cesar, like you said, I call him the Sizzler. If he gets hot, forget it. Forget it. Antonio Rivera as well. A lot of great scrappy defensive players, and Bryce Pete and Noah Hicks. You know, they're taking those charges. They're doing the little things. And you're 100% right as far as identity. They are just a team, to be honest. They've got great leadership. They're experienced. They play unselfish, and they definitely feed off of each other. It's just been exciting to watch this year, and it shows. 9-1, our only loss in the conference coming to Lakeside. Again, a team that we've said is very good. They've got a great first-round matchup. I think that if things
Kent
go
Roosevelt.
Kent Roosevelt. You know, they have to come into our nest and try to beat us on our court, and we are tough to beat at home. So really looking forward to how well all these guys play together and see what they can do with it down the stretch here. On the girls' side, you know, we're super young. We have some outstanding, actually, freshmen and sophomore players that are going to really turn some heads here in the next couple of years. Isabel Stocker, talk about shooting the lights out, just a complete player. She can play high, low. She's great at defense. Ella Burns, Walkers is another young gun there. And they're led by their senior, Takaya Myers, who just steals anything that comes near. Just the role player, the leader that you need out there. So Eagles, both of them, complete teams. But you're right. They're not a three-point shooting team. They're not an inside team. They're just a good team.
I'll tell you, the biggest story for me with this Geneva Eagles team this year, you know, I knew Caden Proy was going to be a dog. I think everybody knew he was going to be a dog. I mean, he turned into a man over the course of a summer. Thanks football, because this guy's not only, you know, tall, but now he's got all this muscle behind him. But you know, one of the cool things I've seen is when you look at a guy like Bryce Pete, who led on the football field and was the leading scorer and was the whole offense, and watch a guy like that turn into the role player that he is for them. You know, sometimes it's hard for that ego to be checked. And when I see Geneva, there is no ego. It's whoever is playing best is who they're giving the rock to. And there's a grittiness and a determination about them. I always joked with Geneva is even if they're less talented than you, they're going to outwork you. And that's just 100%. What they do.
And I think it's a mindset that Coach Zimmer has brought too. This is his first year, Connor Zimmer. He's really got the program going in the right direction. He holds them at a very high standard, and hustle and grit is definitely high on his priorities.
And another interesting factoid about Geneva, as Scott talked about how young their girls basketball team. It's a young team with a tiny record of 14-8. with a young team. So, you know, sky is really the limit. We're going to bounce around the panel to talk about some of the Eagles and what, you know, George, you know, what have you seen from this Eagles team this year?
They're probably the best team that I've seen firsthand. When they visited the Boathouse, just fluid ball movement, no egos. I mean, they stayed patient. It was a close game, probably midway through the fourth. Cesar finally caught fire. I mean, we had him pretty much bottled up, and he was non-factor. Caden was, you know, getting points here and there, and then the same thing with Bryce Pete. So it was a neck-and-neck battle, and then, you know, you let Cesar go for a deep three, and the wheels fall off in a matter of like 3 possessions. And it's not even the only thing. And then everybody catches fire. And so the next thing you know is you're playing from behind, and that's a team that is just they're selfless. Following them all season long. I mean, if it's not Rivera scoring, like I think he led the team from the opening game, and then you know it's like it's Proy leading the charge, or you know it's Cesar. I mean, they share the wealth, and they you know what, their second round matchup. It's probably going to be tough, but if there's anybody has a chance of making it, it's them. So
I mean, that's the best thing you can do with Geneva, honest to God, is just say that they're not in the game. Because if you say that they're not in the game, they go out there and continuously prove you wrong. And it's kind of it's culture wide out there. Larry, thoughts on Geneva?
Yeah, they're definitely scrappy. Okay, and they just look organized when they're out there. I really thought that Edgewood was going to have a chance to challenge for that title this year. They lost a game to Geneva at Geneva. Then Geneva came in and I don't know. They couldn't keep up. That's all. And but no, they're smooth. They don't lose their cool. So they're impressive.
How about you guys over at the Conneaut side?
For sure. I did want to point out Coach Zimmer, like you guys were talking about, first-year head coach. He has a saying that he kind of brought to the team that I think flipped something in a lot of the players' heads, and they talk about the power of the unit. And I see that a lot in the team. This is one of the closest that I've seen their basketball team. I mean, definitely coaching-wise, made a big difference in some of the players' lives. I know he gave one of my friends a brand new pair of shoes to wear at practice, which I thought was awesome. And like you were talking about with Bryce Pete and like kind of becoming more of a role player in the basketball season, Bryce Pete, as long as I've known him, has never had an ego. I think he's always kind of been that guy that, I mean, he'll do what he needs to do, and he does it great, which I thought was awesome. And then like what all you guys were talking about, there's different players that are good at really a ton of different things, and they're going to outwork you, whether, if one or two people isn't having the best game. I mean, they came to Conneaut, strong student section, strong audience, a lot of noise, and, I mean, they just outworked us. It was close for a bit, and then they were able to pull ahead in the fourth quarter, and that's hard to beat.
How about you, James?
They have, three guys, Caden Proy, who, he's that athletic point guard. He's going to go downhill, put his head down. He's going to get buckets at the rim, and he's just athletic. He's going to make those circus plays. You got a guy in Rivera and Cesar who are kind of same archetype of player. They're going to hit the threes, but Rivera's a little bit smaller. He's quicker. He can get to the hoop, and the Cesar is kind of like a bigger wing. But, they're just, like you said, the saying, the power of the unit. Like, they just play a beautiful brand of basketball, in my opinion. Maybe not be perfect all the time, but it gets wins. It gets the job done. They always there's a guy out there always every single night for Geneva that's going to say and pull the team together. I saw that on Friday night. I had the pleasure of calling their game against Berkshire for Scott, and they were down 11 going into the fourth quarter. That team just looked like they had no spark. They just looked like dead in the water. They were shorthanded, didn't have Rivera, and it just took, a couple of buckets, and boom, right back in the game. Cesar hits a huge three to tie it. Berkshire goes down the court. Here comes Caden Porter. The steal goes down, pulls away, and that was the end of it. They just hit their free throws. Bryce Pete, it was a team effort. You had Cesar with the three, you had Proy with the bucket to get the lead, and you got Pete who hit his free throws, and Noah Hicks too. He's a guy that he can do a little bit of everything. They just got guys that could just do a little bit of everything. That's not exactly perfect, but it wins.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and go
Dylan
ahead, Scott.
Shafe too. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention Dylan Shafe. That young man does a lot of things that don't show up on stat sheets. Some of the passes that he has and the facilitating that he does. I mean, it's just a great another asset, just like Hicks. Doesn't show up on every single score sheet, but you absolutely vital to their success.
Yeah, I mean, and that's again, it's a culture. It's just what Geneva does. That's just the way their action is, and it doesn't matter if you're playing them in checkers. That's how Geneva's going to come with it, and it's cool to watch. It's really cool to watch. We'll move on from the Eagles. We're going to move over to the Warriors over at Edgewood, and again, you've got one team that's being led by some younger people in the girls' game, and then the boys' side of the ball or of the game, really kind of trying to find their identity again. This is an Edgewood team that for really the past 5 or 6 years has kind of led the way in the county when it comes to basketball. This year they were looking for some different guys to step up, and I think some guys are still trying to find their role. Larry obviously is going to have a much better experience with that than anybody on here because he is Mr. Edgewood. But this is a team in going 9-10, and they've got a home game against Jefferson, followed by a home game against Jefferson. Larry, what's Edgewood look like?
Well, you've got, I've really thought that they live and die by the 3-point shot. They don't have a big size, muscular players other than Paul Seiler, really. And Czar Tripling gets in there. He's a big guy, too. But, and when they're hot, and it can be different players. Earlier in the season, it was Mizak, it was Measle, it was, and then later in the season, like I said, Devin Christine has just come on like gangbusters. But just the scrappiness of the team, between the scrappiness and hitting those 3-point shots and getting rebounds. Mizak gets a whole lot of rebounds. I mean, he's not a small kid, but he's not a bulky kid either, So, and same thing with Gino Measle. So, when they're up against some pure talent, they might have some more difficulty. Any other time, they're very well capable of being in a game.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, and we'll talk about the girls here in just a moment, but on the boys' side, I don't know that another team outside of arguably Lakeside lost a player that mattered more to their team this year than Edgewood in Mason Thor. Mason Thor, one of the area's last true centers, like back to the basket. He's an offensive lineman and he plays like it, when it comes on the boards and stuff like that. But losing him to injury, I think, on top of losing the guys they lost from last year's senior class, really kind of changed the trajectory of this team this year.
Yeah, it really did. And like I said, Paul Seiler came in. He was a transfer from Lakeside for football anyway, and the football season, and he made his mark on the football field. But he impressed me with what he's done on the basketball court as well.
And I also agree with you about Devin Christine, who I want to apologize publicly that I have called Darren Christine for exactly 3 years before I finally got it. His senior year, I've got the name and the pronunciation. But another one of those, if we were playing NBA 2K, I think he'd have the microwave icon. He's just he's just nothing but pure, unadulterated energy, and can help on the scoring side of things as well. But this is a team that's it's a different Edgewood Warriors team than what you've seen in the past. And it's interesting to see how Coach Bowler, his second year as the head coach, I believe, how he's had to kind of change the plans and that sort of thing. Quickly running around the panel for these guys. What are your thoughts on Edgewood boys this year?
Well,
I got one
Sammy,
more
I have a
thing.
little bit of a little Shefty bomb for you. Little Birdie told me, aka Mason Thor, he told me he is 90% sure he can be returning to action on Wednesday against Fire Academy, and he could be possibly playing senior night against Jefferson and the tournament game.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge game.
Friday night is senior night, and I did hear that he was going to at least make an appearance.
He said he's thinking Wednesday. He said all he has to do is get confirmation from Bowler, but everything besides that is good to go. He told me he wants to play.
Okay, well, you're surprising me. What's Wednesday?
Spire Academy. It's not on the schedule. For some reason, it's not on Max Preps, but that's who they're playing, Aspire, on Wednesday night.
It's probably because it's non OHSAA, but I mean that'll be a big help. Although I'll tell you what, we will back off that a little bit as we're gonna run like YSN, not TMZ. But that'll be an interesting addition, and definitely a big help. But moving on from the boys over to the girls side. One of the most unsung coaches I think out here is Randy Venzel. And what he is able to do year in, year out with that girls basketball program is nothing short of impressive. Now, listen, he's got a couple pretty darn good players on this team this year in Faith Venzel and Carly Cray. But they've gone out there this year. They're going to be hosting again. Another big storyline, in my opinion, for Edgewood is neither team is playing West Branch this year, which I think is the first time in like a decade, because those two always seem to be on the same crash course. But Larry, talk a little bit about the girls basketball program.
Well, yeah, Carly Cray Jr., she just came out of nowhere. I mean, 3 years ago, she was doing competitive dance, and just like her brother Logan, and her mom Nicole was on a state championship softball team, and Steve was an athlete as well. So yeah, she's really got it together there. Faith Venzel as a junior, when she can get under the basket, it's an easy reach for her to put it in. Annie Mae Johnston, when she's hitting the 3-pointers, she's hitting them. Last year it was Avery Venzel and Annie Mae Johnston that were making all the threes. Well, there's not as many threes this year, but the ball handling by Annie Mae Johnston, getting the ball to Carly, is just phenomenal. It's some of the things that I've seen her do are just amazing. The no-look passes and just the accuracy of all that. And, the younger players too, you've got younger players coming up. Whitney Reed, you got Carly Tracy, you've got, there's others too. But it's been impressive. It's been a pleasure to watch. They made a run at the Chagrin, the Lake Division title, came up a little bit short there, but against Madison, but they were impressive. They were impressive for me this year. Coming out with a 14-7 record and 8-2 in the conference.
Yeah, it's been impressive, and that's just Randy Venzel again. I'm going to give him another plug. I just think he's a really good coach. I think he does a great job getting girls motivated and finding the best of what his athletes can do, and they do it regularly, and that's why Edgewood is never really out of any game that they play in. And it'll be interesting to see. At the end of the show, I'm going to ask everybody, start thinking about it now. Who do you think's got the best chance at a long tournament run? And Grand Valley's not an option, so you can't use that one. So outside of the Mustangs, who's got the best shot at a longer tournament run? But we just talked about Grand Valley. I want to talk about another valley, and that's Pymatuning Valley. And one of the things I talked about with Geneva was I think it was really hard for me to put my finger on who Geneva is game in and game out. That's double true for Pymatuning Valley this year. Pymatuning Valley, I've watched this team go out there and be the same Laker team that I expect every single year. And other years or other games they've come out this year, and the identity is either shifting or they're just not on tonight. George, what's been the story over next to Pymatuning Lake?
I think it's, again, as I alluded to earlier on, it was trying to put the pieces together when you had the rug pulled out from underneath you. You lost a couple guys that you were counting on, and through the course of the season, I mean, they've had a maturation, I guess is the best way of putting it. A gritty group is the best way I could describe them. Talented, lost a couple games that we probably could have pulled out. That Edgewood game to start the season, I mean, that was a 1-point game. Geneva was close. Lakeside was close. All these games were going close into the fourth quarter. So I think losing them, obviously, while they hurt, it helped them develop and to start to learn how to win these other games down the line. So young team, like I said, 2 seniors. You're sporting, obviously you got Justin Britton, he's a sophomore, leading the way, scoring wise, excellent shooter. You've got Andrew Wadiga, a junior, marksman, he could shoot the ball. Freshman Noah Dubik, He's leading the point and doing some great things there. Another excellent shooter. So they've got guys that can light it up from behind the arc, but then you can bring it inside, and that's where you have like Chase Geisinger, where he's on his game. He's very difficult to stop, and he's had some pretty heavyweight matchups over the last couple of weeks. Over the weekend, poor kid had to go up against Joey Sands and Paxton Fritchie, and then the next night turn around with Jack Harnett over at Badger. So I mean, he's been banging around in the paint a lot. And then obviously his senior mate, Trent Harvey's been doing a great job as far as, the rebounding, and he's been putting up some points. It's just a team that's starting to piece it all together. And, a lot of role players, like they're getting a lot of guys off the bench that are getting valuable time. Will Baher, guys like just the Energizer Bunny, comes in there, makes things happen. I've never seen a kid jump higher than Will. And this is a kid that's maybe 5'10", 5'11", and he's out there and he's blocking guys that are like 6'3". So they're going into this tournament, obviously finishing up against Cardinal tomorrow, 11-10, and you got a matchup against like Wycliffe. I think that obviously they could go into that and they could beat them. And then the second round obviously is what the second round's going to be. It's
and so is the story here at Ashton Beulah. I'll tell you what, nobody has a great second round matchup.
Right. But it's a team that I think for them, win this game and build off of it into next year. And let me tell you what they're lacking in height right now. The talent that they have on the court right now, and then coming up, they're going to be okay. But as far as the girls are concerned, the girls, they had a rough start. Michael Cole, Coach Cole, has done a great job. Second year here, he's kind of turned the program around. Those girls have really responded to him. He's got Sadie Paul Sr. running the point, Raylan Ballantyne underneath. Crashing the boards, and she's like, she's an outside shooter too. It's hard to believe, but she's nailing threes. You've got junior McKenna Jordan, who's is a softball standout, but she's out here, schooling everybody and draining threes and just making these acrobatic layups. They dealt with a couple of injuries, to start. Natalie Haynes, they weren't expecting her to be gone all season. Erilyn Lockwood had a couple of injuries here and there. She's back. Julia Hitchcock's been doing some great things. They've got a young, bright star and Samaya Bright coming up. So they're looking good. They rattled off 6 in a row to finish the season, lost against Poland. And, they've got a matchup against Berkshire, which, Coach Alberts, he was coach of the year, I think, a couple of years ago, if not last year. Tough matchup. But, hey, upset them, and then you get another rematch with Poland. So for both teams, it's, again, we have a lot of youth coming up. It was a lot of uncertainty because we weren't expecting what we went through. But a lot of maturation, a lot of growth. Like I said, you've got the youth on the guys' side. They can honestly – they could come into this and they could have just went downhill and just, lost every game, but they got it together. They're banding together. They're starting to play a lot more cohesive ball, which is wonderful to see. And they've been shooting the lights out of the gym the last couple of nights. So,
yeah, I mean, I love, of all the matchups in the first round, coming up in the next couple weeks, I love Pymatuning Valley's the best. I think that they match up very, very advantageously with Wycliffe. And they got to come to the Boathouse, which is beginning to get itself a reputation as a tough place to play. I mean, they pack it. Everybody from Andover, from the inn on in, is at the place. Pymatuning Valley, I think, again, they struggled early to find their identity and for reasons that were outside of their control. I mean, sometimes when you go into the season thinking you're going to have one player and that doesn't work out, it's up to other people to step up. Chase Geisinger, I'll tell you what, I liken him a lot to the kid from Conneaut, Jacob Thompson. They just do a little bit of everything. They can get some scoring, but they're strong football guys, and they fight for the ball, and it opens up stuff for young guys like Dubik and another unsung hero out there in Pymatuning Valley, Britton. Who gets forgotten about, but Britton is, people talk about, he hasn't been a trademark star this year. I mean, the kid averages like 17 a night, and that just shows you how good he truly is, because 17 a night doesn't make him jump off the page. 17 a night for anybody should jump off the page.
Those are fantastic numbers. I mean, we talk about kids dropping 29, 30. That's great, but at what extent, do you sacrifice the rest of the output? And I think the Lakers have done a good job putting high numbers on the board every week, every game, pretty much. And they're starting to come into their own right now. Like I said, Britton, he's been having to come inside a little bit more often than I'm sure that he would care to do. But he's playing inside the paint, crashing the boards, getting rebounds as far as the putback. So, and then when he's outside in the perimeter, he's shooting those threes as well. Andrew Wadiga just started turning it on in the latter part of the season. Just lights out. I mean, you need a big three. You can count on him. You can count on Britton and Dubik. I mean, shoot, the Saturday night, the three of them accounted for, 8 3-pointers in the third quarter against Badgers. So there's the marksmanship is there. I mean, I don't like to call it that, but I mean, they could put that team between the crosshairs and just shoot lights out when the calling is there.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting run for Pymatuning Valley. It really is. Again, I think they've got the boys have a great matchup right there in the beginning. And honestly, I think the girls do too with Berkshire, but Berkshire is just a well-coached program.
They're tough.
But we'll move from the Pymatuning Lake Valley folks over to this year. I'm going to call them Ashtabula's sweetheart. The Grand Valley Mustangs have gone out there and they've done exactly what you thought they were going to do. Like Dennis, like the NFL coach said, they are who we thought they were. They played where we thought they were going to play. And that is the Grand Valley Mustangs, who, no surprise here, are going to be hosting yet another playoff game. Both boys and girls have gone out there and got the job done week after week after week. And one guy has been front and center for their action this year, and that is James Westover. James, talk about the Mustangs.
As I said, they 17-4 right now. It's another year. Last year they won 19 games. Coming now, tomorrow they got senior night against St. John's, so we'll see what happens there. But you got 2 seasons where you won 16 or more games. That is impressive. I think the stars really aligned these past 2 seasons. You come back to the NAC, you get a guy in Carter Turk coming up from the middle school, and obviously missed his freshman year. Then last year came onto the scene, was this young sophomore, and then this year, he's kind of matured. He's not averaging 20 like he was last year, but he is doing everything. He's improved on everything this game. The 3-point shot is really there from him. I mean, this kid has pulled up from the volleyball line multiple times. I mean, the playmaking too. This kid zips the ball around the court, and I really think playing quarterback might have helped with that a little bit there in the football season. And they look at his co-star and Sully Schultz. I mean, they feed off each other really well. You got Turk, he's the 3-point sniper, he playmakes. You got Schultz, he's the athletic guard. I mean, he has sent shots careening off the backboard multiple times this season. I can't even tell you. He threw down a couple of slams. He threw down a poster 2 weeks ago. And, I think they just feed off each other well. They got great role players like Easton and Palizga, both the Palizgas. And then really the question, off the bench, that you lost all these seniors, who is going to be the depth guys? And I really think guys such as Liam Hart and Carl Craig, Alex Chudzik, they've all stepped off the bench. The Mustangs have length too. know a couple of games I'll look at this year. That Jefferson game, that was really great. We haven't beat those guys in a couple of years. It was a back-and-forth battle. We were able to hit our free throws and pull away in the end, though. The game I look at the most, though, and even though it was a loss, the Fairport Skippers. Fairport is very, very talented, to say the least. I'm sure they are a favorite in their bracket. The first time we played them, we lost by, what was that? Around 20 points. The game was back and forth the whole time. We just got tired at the end. Fairport hit a couple of threes. They just pulled away. What I really think just kind of shows, what we're really made of was the second time we played them. I mean, that game was amazing. The way it ended was unfortunate. Carter Turk's last shot was blocked. But I really think that is a game that can really show you what, you can really be truly made of coming into the tournament. I really like our matchup. Open Door Christian, they haven't had the season they liked. You look at that record, but I'm not going to sit here and, disintegrate a team that I've never seen play. They play different competition from us. So you never know, really. It's any given night, As you said, we all shoot in the same hoop, it all falls in the same hoop. So for the girls, what Zach Sarine has done for that program is impressive. I mean, this is the second conference title in 2 years, in two different conferences, by the way. CVC Valley 2 years ago, and then this year, the NAC Stars. 19-3, that is a program record. And you look at the games they play, they just play tougher competition, too. I mean, we played a very good Berkshire team. We lost in overtime. Perry, we were down going into the fourth quarter. We came back, beat them. We ended our season with a rough loss to Crestview, but you look at that Crestview team, that is a very, very solid team. I mean, we don't have a
one of the best girl basketball players in the state on that Crestview team in Addison Rhodes. You'll get to see her at the YSN All-Star game. But yeah, that's real. A pretty hot team to be going up against.
Maplewood, they played Maplewood earlier this year too. I mean, two possible state title contenders in their respective brackets. Let's be serious here. But I mean, not a single senior on the squad, by the way. Everybody is, we have a freshman starting, Riley Rowland, who's really turned heads this year. But I like our matchup a lot too. Springfield, it's a lot of these tougher matchups is really going to be preparing us for this one. That is a tough Springfield team. They play those MBAC competition teams such as Crestview, so I think they're going to give us their best shot. So,
well, I'll tell you what. When I talked a little bit about Pymatuning Valley's first round matchup being very advantageous. Of all the teams that we're going to discuss, both boys and girls, I personally believe Grand Valley has the toughest first round matchup of everybody. Springfield, even though they're 10-12, a little tidbit here, was in the state championship game just 2 years ago. So you're going to have girls on this team that played in Dayton. And, for all the hard work that the Mustangs did during the regular season, they get to go against a team that, was playing in Dayton not very long ago. And, on the boys' side, I think it's easy to talk about Carter Turk. Solly Schultz, in my opinion, outside of Dallas Patterson from Edgewood, I don't know that anybody gets to the rim easier than Schultz. And that's one of the reasons that I think they're so good. And, oh, by the way, Coach Turk is one of the better basketball coaches you'll ever come across. I want to bounce around the panel here just really quickly and ask their thoughts. We'll start with George on the
Sammy. I need to excuse myself.
Yes, sir.
So thank you for having me, and you guys. You're doing great out there. Take care. I'll talk to you later.
All right, Larry. Thanks for joining us tonight, buddy. But we'll start with George on his thoughts on Grand Valley.
I think they're the worst team in the county.
You're always saying
I'm
that.
about tired of hearing James bragging. James, oh my!
Walk off the backboard. It's happened multiple times.
You can't shake the board. Listen, with all due respect, though, we joke about it because James's head has grown 10 sizes this year, week by week. they are well put together. Like if and they're selfless. If it's not Turk one game, it's Schultz, and if it's not Schultz, it's like Eason. So I love how they play. They play, they move the ball around well. I still can't believe how that Turk can hit these like logo threes. I mean, it still baffles me, but they're scary. I mean, we fell behind them early, obviously both games, and struggled all game long to get back to within striking distance. And that's a team that you can't do that with. And Grand Valley could pour on the points quickly. So I like how they play the game. They're very similar to how Geneva runs their offense, and they're selfless. And I think they can make a nice run in that tournament. I mean, that bracket is wide open.
Anybody else thoughts on Grand Valley?
Yeah, they're just long and they're lean. They play a great inside-out game. I mean, the guys have covered it. They're a force to be reckoned with, and I think they're going to show everybody in this tournament.
Yeah, I think I got to agree with you. Any thoughts from Conneaut? I was just looking. I didn't realize Grand Valley did not play Conneaut.
We played them twice last year, I believe.
Nor did they play Geneva. So, but Grand Valley.
That would have been a great matchup.
I wish everybody I talked to on this team, even Turk said himself, I wish we played Geneva. That would have been the game.
County League. But
yes, thank you.
Yeah, it's again. I think I call him Ashtabula's sweetheart. I think there is something poetic as they're getting the girls on the girls' side getting ready to play Springfield, who is a big time YSN team. Again, I was behind the computer as that Springfield girls team was in Dayton playing for a state championship. I want to say just 2 years ago. So, imagine going 19-3 and you got to go against a team like that. You're supposed to go against a team that barely could get a win all year. I mean, what's going on here? So it's going to be an interesting tournament time as we get ready to go. I teased it at the beginning of the show. We're going to go rapid fire here, and I'm starting with the Conneaut boys. You can't pick Grand Valley. Their records are too good. But of the 8 Ashtabula County teams, who do you think, boys or girls, can make the deepest tournament run?
I mean, this is the team that I could probably talk the most about besides Conneaut. But for sure, in my opinion, it's Geneva. I mean, like you talked about, not necessarily sure what their full identity is, but they're just a good basketball team. They're hard to beat. I mean, and this new identity with the team is just, I really think this might be the strongest they've been in a long time, like team bonding wise. And like you said about just like the grit of Geneva itself, I mean, they're a run first football team. They have a good weight program. Everything that I've noticed about Geneva, they're just going to outwork you. I mean, they blend together, they work hard, and whether they're favored or not, they have a chance.
All right, James, good luck.
I would go with the easy answer in Geneva, but unfortunately, they beat Kent Roosevelt. They got to play a little known player. His name's Marcus Johnson. He's a 5-star recruit, and he plays for Garfield Heights. But I'm gonna go. They say keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. I'm gonna go with PV. Coming down the stretch here, I mean, you talk about last time I think we were on this, I talked about Britton, how he's kind of putting up these quiet 20-point games. He's being consistent, but now they're getting louder. I mean, he had a 30-point game against a very, very good Fairport team. I mean, and I'm just hearing more chatter about him, and I'm going to pick them. I think they could, give Luther and West a little bit of run for the money. It's like I said, it's any given night. So I'm going to go with them.
Scott.
Everybody's got a tough second rounder. I don't want to play Mr. Ohio either, but that's going to be tough for Geneva if they get past the first round. But I'm going to go with a sleeper. I'm going to go with the Lakeside Dragons. I think that they're going to make some noise in this tournament. I think they match up well in that first round, and they could get hot at the right time and really surprise some people. So that's my dark horse right there.
George.
I'm going to write off of Scott's coattails there. I kind of think Lakeside can do some damage. And the irony is they might end up playing Marcus Johnson in that
Yeah.
final.
Well,
But,
that's true.
or they can end up playing Geneva. So, but I do think that they can go on a run too. And yeah, whoever ends up playing Garfield Heights they're gonna have a tough matchup. But yeah,
Tough.
I'm going to take this moment, and I know this isn't a pot. This is a mini pot, and I'm going to stir the pot here. We're going to
Uh-oh.
stir up this pot.
Oh, okay.
And I think the easy answer for me was going to be Lakeside, but the more and more I think about it, I'm going to take this moment to stir the pot. And I think who's going to make the longest run in this tournament, I think it's going to be the St. John Heralds. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why right now. They
Love
got
you better have a good answer for this.
they got a
I'm
decent
cooking, baby.
'Cause you look at
they got a
look around
decent
that-
matchup in the first round. I think they're going against a pretty good Wellsville team. I think they're going against a pretty good Wellsville team. Their eyes are on the prize. They didn't get a chance to play the big bad Fairport Harding Skippers this year in the regular season for that second game. They were going to play them on the road. That game didn't happen. It's going to happen because if they beat Wellsville, they get to go to Fairport and they get to spoil their rival for the last time ever. The St. John Heralds are going to get it done. Beat Wellsville. They're going to beat Fairport. A lot of crying going on, and the Heralds are going to make it happen.
I hear the whole county abruptly like, oh my God, what is this guy thinking?
That's my pot stirring moment of the show. You heard it here first. If I'm wrong, you could say I told you so. When I'm right, I'll say the man with the plan got it right from the beginning. That's my pot stirring moment of this
You're
show.
Rocky Balboa in this
Hire a goon.
situation here.
But yeah, I do think I really do. I think that opportunity is going to stick out in their head. They're going to want to get that last piece of the rivalry game. And, you know, in the rivalry games, it doesn't matter if you're undefeated in the regular season or not, then the records don't matter. And I think that's going to set it up. We'll end the show. I'm going to ask each and every one of you, what are some of the cool things going on in the areas that you are in? So, you know, over at St. John, you know, they've got the big St. Patrick's Day event that they're going to be putting together. It's always great to see. I'll be very excited to see some of the faces. It helps the school, so make sure you pay attention to their Facebook page. Go over, you know, all of those proceeds help along. There's some great baskets and things that you can bid on, so head over there. George, what's going on in Lakerland?
You know, there's just some news that broke that we just had I think a couple $1 million endowment that was donated for, I think it's going to be a county FFA building, and it's a monstrosity. So it's gonna obviously bring kids from all over the county, and also for the sports program, I guess it's going to free up some funds to be able to put in some turf for the baseball fields and for the football fields. So love it. Looking forward to hear more about it, but you know, it's an exciting time for that. And yeah, you know, we're just getting ready for spring and for everybody else to kind of flood the area.
Turf at Andover. The times, they are a changing. Scott, what's going on out there in Geneva Land?
I think we're planning turf, but we got a new stadium that they're planning out for the Eagles. Things are moving along with that. So just the community's all abuzz and excited about the sports complex that'll be coming out for us. And then I just wanted to give a personal shout out to the Edgewood Warriors. Recently, they did a fundraiser with the Special Olympics basketball, which is near and dear to me. And they interacted with all the folks and took them through some drills and some competitions. And it was just great to see all the interaction between the Special Olympics team and the Edgewood High School, both boys and girls teams. Just a great fundraising night. Over the years, they've raised about $40,000. And just a thank you. It was great. And thank you to James for live streaming it for us. That was fantastic.
It is a pretty cool event, and Edgewood and the Special Olympics, it's an awesome event, and I love it. And obviously, I know you love it, Scott, as it's near and dear to your heart. So yeah, definitely good shout out there, Scott. Way to kick it out of the park here. What's going on over there in Orwell other than great sandwiches?
Well, we just had our Amish basketball game this past weekend, and let me tell you, those guys, they play, man. They play. There's a couple of them that comes to the games and have their flip phones out and they're recording the basketball games and stuff. But another basketball game happening before spring break, student versus staff. Word around the street is I might be playing in it. Just hearing something about that. But it'll be fun to lock down some of my favorite teachers. So I'm looking at you, Nate Chick. So.
And to my Kodiak guys, what are some cool things going on out there?
March 7th, we have Spartan Fest coming up. So a little fundraiser to raise money for athletics. And basically it's 4 to 10 and it's at New Leaf Event Center. So there's going to be 3 bands playing. One of them includes my old band, Larry. So we're going to be there. Make sure if you want a ticket, you can contact Coach Passanen. But yeah, there's going to be live music, games, and like baskets and raffles. So if you want to win something too.
Just to add on to that, there's a lot of cool baskets. I know I've seen some autographed jerseys there from some professional teams, some autographed bats there from our professional teams around here. So, and then just to add on to that, you have to be 21 to get tickets for that. And then as well, big news in Conneaut is construction starting this spring on our turf fields coming. So big news there.
I'll tell you what, man, we're going, it's a turf first county and I'm here for it, baby. I love grass just like the next guy, but it's all about the turf and making sure we're putting our guys in the best position. Before we do go, I have to be a good son. I got to send a huge shout out to my mother, her birthday today. Happy birthday, mama. For everybody else out there watching, thanks so much for spending your evening with us. I want to thank each and every one of these gentlemen, Larry Jennings, who had to make a early exit, but George Dubik, Scott Demos, James Westover, Aaron Johnson, and Hamilton Spiro. Ladies and gentlemen, these are your voices of Ashtabula County sports, and I am so thankful for all of you, and I'm also very, very thankful for YSN Live for becoming the home for not only sports in the Mahoning Valley, but right here in Ashtabula County. From the river to the lake, we've got you guys covered right here on your home for high school sports. My name is Sam Torres, and for all the rest of these gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight here on the 440 Sports Show. Special presentation, Tournament Town Hall.
This for the football. This for the football. For the city in the back roads, got a whole county full of them goats. All from the football and them goats. Hey, it's just for Beulah County. Yeah, right on your head like a bounty. Said I'm from Beulah, they know I'm from Beulah, so let me just go talk about my surroundings. Shout out them Eagles that's out in Geneva, them Lakers, oh yeah, that's Palmerton Valley. We from the football chasing these goals. If you in the way, you get taken out proudly. And Jefferson soaring with Falcon. Said that you working, you ain't really working. You see that we working, our hands got a callus. Putting in reps till we moving some mountains. Edgewood got warriors, they won't allow it. Me, I bleed green and gold, they know defeating no dragons who run the whole city. You wildin'. And they really bout it. And next we gon' go to Grand Valley. Work like a horse and don't show no remorse. So opponents keep coming, we stack them and pile them. Yeah, and Connie I flooded with Spartans. As soon as they pull up on game day, we park them. Cause we number one in that spot, ain't a bargain. Man, shout out St. John, they be ballin' like Harden. Switch for the football.